So I know how dangerous Donald Trump can be. I know what an egomaniac he is.
Right. And I'm not challenging you on that. But go on.
Yeah, so I know who I'm dealing with here, but he also likes to be popular. So if we can feed into the direction that makes him more popular, which is passing our laws, our policies, then great. But you're giving up before this term has even begun. We're not looking to get Trump to do like marvelous 85% of Bernie Sanders' policies. That's cuckoo for
Yeah.
Cocoa Puffs. That's never going to happen, right?
In today's video, Brian Tyler Cohen absolutely destroys Cenk Uygur in a heated debate on Cenk extending goodwill to MAGA. The whole thing kicks off when Brian straight up challenges Cenk on his recent attempts to appeal to MAGA voters. You know, the whole "I'm the only one who can reach Trump supporters" narrative Cenk's been pushing, and Brian doesn't hold back. He calls out the contradiction of trying to win over a base that openly supports authoritarianism, anti-democratic values, and conspiracy theories, just to score some political points. What's wild is that Cenk has spent years roasting centrists and corporate Dems for not standing firm on values. And now here he is, flirting with MAGA-light messaging and pretending it's some kind of 4D chess move. So let's dive in and watch how Brian Tyler Cohen shuts down Cenk Uygur in this heated debate.
But if we get 15%, that's a lot better off. If we can contain his worst impulses by going and finding allies in the right wing that agree with us, that would be much better in containing his worst impulses instead of driving towards it. And please, look, this is the same for our audience, and we're trying to be honest with everyone. And obviously, of course, we're getting punished for it. You'll look at the comment section here, turncoat binary thinking. If he's criticizing Democrats, that must mean he loves Trump. I'm sick of it. It's just maddening. Please snap out of the hypnosis you guys are all. Are you kidding me on not being able to challenge Trump? First of all, they did challenge Trump. He won. On Biden, it was the most legitimate challenge in history. And everybody said, shut up and fall in line behind the guy who's in obvious mental decline, who's talking about how his uncle was eaten by cannibals. And what did our side do? Everybody said, shut up and fall in line. And objecting to leadership is unacceptable. And by the way, Brian, they'll do it again. They'll put up another corporate robot like Pete Buttigieg or Gavin Newsom in 2028, and they'll tell you, shut up. You're not allowed to disagree. Unity. If you disagree, you're a Republican. We have to pick the worst corporate candidate there is. We have to pick a deeply corrupt establishment figure. Otherwise, that's it. You're in favor of Trump. So if you're on the left and if you're watching this, you're supposed to disobey. We're the left. We're not supposed to fall in line. We're supposed to have interesting, dynamic, different intellectual ideas, and we're supposed to care for everyone. We're not supposed to say we care for everyone except MAGA and half the country, I hate them, and we should never talk to them, and all we should do is yell at them and assume that they're all idiots. That is not a left-wing position. That is not an inclusive position. Please wake up.
But I don't.
Right? The Democratic politicians have been miserable failures, and not of the Republicans, and not of the country, of us. They never deliver for us.
I don't think that Democrats are. Look, I don't think that Democrats are doing that though, and they've proven in office that they're not doing that. When Trump listen, when Trump was ending his first term, every Democrat voted for the CARES Act because they recognized that it would help the American people, even though doing so would give Trump a win. And then, of course, when Republicans tried to pass, when Democrats came into office and tried to pass the American Rescue Plan, it wasn't passed with any support from Republicans. Maybe a few Republicans voted for it, but they didn't do that. And then Democrats came back into office. We have the bipartisan infrastructure law. We have the bipartisan gun safety law. We have all of these benefits conferred to red states, red districts, red areas for the infrastructure law, the CHIPS Act. So Democrats do not just defer blindly to, okay, what can help us politically. They're perfectly content to bring Republicans in if it's going to help them, even if it's voting for legislation that will reflect better on Donald Trump himself. So Democrats aren't just this party where we're going to blindly take whatever wins and lock Republicans out. They've proven by virtue of how they govern that they're not willing to do that.
Now, Cenk's whole pitch is that progressives should extend some kind of goodwill to MAGA voters and even work with Trump if it means getting a few policies through, like maybe squeezing out 15% of a Bernie-style agenda. But Brian wasn't having it. And honestly, he's right to push back. Because here's the thing. Trump isn't some unpredictable populist who might accidentally pass a few good laws. He's a historically dangerous authoritarian who actively undermines democracy, incites violence, and surrounds himself with extremists. You don't contain his worst impulses by cozying up to him. You legitimize them. That's how democracies slide. Brian also reminded Cenk and everyone watching that Democrats have worked across the aisle when it helped people. The CARES Act passed with full Democratic support, even though it gave Trump a win. The American Rescue Plan, massive help for the working class, even though not a single Republican voted for it. The bipartisan infrastructure law, CHIPS Act, and gun safety law, all proof that Democrats are actually governing, not just playing team politics.
Yeah, so that's a fair point, Brian, and I'm glad you mentioned that because you're right. And why am I on the left? Why am I a Democrat, right? Because I agree with those policies, and I agree with the way of thinking about caring for everyone else. And Bernie Sanders' slogan was "Fight for someone you don't know," right? And I love that. That is at the core of the Young Turks.
Yeah.
So the Democrats are terrific at getting disaster relief to everyone, and as I said earlier in the show, the Republicans don't. And that's their Republican politicians who are drive division in this country. And by the way, they drive a lot of the identity politics and a lot of the culture wars. They love to do that so you don't notice as their donors rob us blind. If you're talking about corporate Republican Congress people, I have zero faith in them. And by the way, the only people who can get them in line to vote for anything that we want is not Democrats. Unfortunately, the reality is the only one that can get them to vote for anti-war or anything along those lines is Donald Trump, because he could bully them into submission. And so I'm clear-eyed about that. But when we talk about, hey, I don't want to listen to Republicans, I don't want to listen to Trump, and I don't want to listen to anyone who's a right-wing voter, and I think they're all fascist, and they're and then you've got Bannon and Musk at this. I use it as an example. In these 4 years, you're going to see that they're going to have non-stop internal fights. And I'm curious whether anyone in the audience is going to go, hey, you know what? Cenk said that was going to happen. The Young Turks said that was going to happen. Just like we said it about Biden, just like we've said it about Tulsi Gabbard and how she was never a progressive. And we called all of these things out accurately. I'm curious if our side is ever going to be fair and goes, yeah, no, you're right. It turns out they do have these giant conflicts. Jump in there, help support corporate tax increases, right? But if you just go, no, I want to shut off. I think they're all evil. I don't want to understand the difference between Bannon and Musk. I don't want to understand the difference between the corporatists in the Republican Party and the populists in the Republican Party. I don't want to understand the difference between the populists economically and populists socially. Well, that is, again, a very anti-left-wing position, an anti-intellectual position, where you go, I'm shutting off my mind. I'll just let the Democratic politicians think for me, and I will dutifully obey them in every primary and make sure that I support some sort of corporate goon who never delivers on their promises. Let's go. Let's get up and fight back. And by the way, the number one thing you should do is take the Democratic Party back. And that 2028 primary is going to be the most important vote of your life. If you vote for another one of these establishment figures, we're going to get slaughtered in the next election. How many times have we said on the Young Turks, populist is the way to go? Bernie would have won, and the polling indicated that. It was indisputable polling, and mainstream media lied to you, and the Democratic leadership lied to you. And I'm trying to get people to stop believing in the Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden lies. How much clearer does it have to be? The guy still says that he would have won, and that Kamala would have won, even though we just had the election and she lost. Please stop listening to these guys.
Let's start with the core idea that Donald Trump is somehow going to bully Republicans into passing progressive legislation. Where is the evidence for that? During his entire presidency, Trump had full control of the government. And what did we get? A $1.9 trillion tax cut for the rich, the dismantling of environmental protections, 3 ultra-conservative Supreme Court justices, and multiple attempts to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Trump didn't bully Republicans into doing anything progressive. He enabled their worst instincts. Cenk keeps saying it's anti-leftist to write people off or to not try to understand the different factions on the right. But come on, knowing the difference between Elon Musk and Steve Bannon doesn't mean we pretend either of them are allies. Musk is a billionaire who's actively working to dismantle regulations, unions, and any attempt at platform accountability. Bannon literally wants to destroy liberal democracy from the inside. Neither of them care about Medicaid for all, raising the minimum wage, or climate justice.
Who to end this on a note of levity here, who are you looking at as we head toward 2020? And I know this is a ridiculous question, but just so that we can, I don't know, for a moment of levity here, who would you like to see as we head toward 2028? Is it somebody that we even know about right now, or is there somebody that you're just waiting to come out of the woodwork that we don't even know about? And kind of in the same way that nobody really knew who Barack Obama was before he came onto the scene in 2008.
Yeah. So look, we should look outside of politicians. So there are very few politicians that have not been corrupted by the system. So that's and so Donald Trump has this fake populism. He doesn't mean it. He just wants money, right?
100%.
Yeah, but he does it effectively because the country's dying for populists. So, but all of our politicians have grown up in a system where they take endless corporate PAC money and they serve endless corporate PAC money. So, number one, if you're going to pick a politician, it has to be someone that doesn't take corporate PAC money, like Ro Khanna. So that's as close to Bernie as you can get is the direction I would go, given that Bernie's way too old. Now, but go outside of politics. Give me a Jon Stewart. Give me a Sean O'Brien, a Sean Fain, a labor leader, an entertainer, someone who's, by the way, Jon Stewart has fought for the average guy before. He's fought to get for first responders health insurance and health care, et cetera, in New York. So give me somebody honest. Give me somebody authentic. Give me someone who's populist left wing. And that is, and I'm so glad you asked that, Brian, because don't lose track of the fact that 2/3 of the country agrees with almost all of our economic policy positions. Paid family leave, higher minimum wage, universal health care, even free college. I can go all the way down the list. 2/3 of the country is populist progressive. We have to give them a candidate in a general election. If we do, we will win overwhelmingly. If we don't, then you're going to have J.D. Vance or some other goon, and they're going to win till the rest of the time, until the Democratic Party realizes, go populist, do not go back to the establishment.
To your point, Democrats have been winning referendums and ballot measures while the candidates who espouse those very positions continue to lose on the same fucking ballot. So if that is not a testament to the fact that our message is correct, our messengers are absolutely wrong, I don't know what is.
Cenk keeps insisting that MAGA voters are just waiting for a real left-wing populist to come along and win them over with progressive policies like higher wages, paid family leave, Medicare for all. And look, on paper, sure, those policies are popular. Poll after poll shows broad support across party lines for things like taxing the rich and protecting Social Security. But where Cenk completely loses the plot is in assuming that policy agreement equals to political alignment. The truth is, MAGA isn't voting on policy, they're voting on identity, immigration, guns, race, religion, owning the libs. Those are the drivers. If it was just about paid leave and healthcare, Trump wouldn't have gotten elected in the first place. In fact, Donald Trump ran against those very things. He promised to protect Medicaid and Social Security, then tried to cut them. He said he'd bring back jobs, then gave a massive tax cut to the wealthy. And MAGA voters stuck with him, not because he delivered economically, but because he delivered culturally. He told them what they wanted to hear, that their enemies were the problem, and he'd crush them. Brian Tyler Cohen was absolutely right to push back. Democrats have been winning on the issues. They just keep running into a wall of disinformation, tribalism, and extremism. And while it's fair to criticize the party's messaging or candidate choices, pretending that goodwill toward MAGA will fix it, that's not strategy, that's delusion. So yeah, fight for economic justice, push for bold progressive leadership, build coalitions, but stop trying to rehabilitate a movement that's shown us over and over exactly what it is. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.